Star Wars The Rise of Skywalker is now currently out in theaters, and as of right now, it has gained around 700+ million at the box office worldwide. A lot of fans are very curious about what could have been by Disney and Lucasfilm based on all the reshoots, the rewrites, etc., etc. This is Mike Zero. Make sure to subscribe if you are new to the channel for future Star Wars content. Now, one thing about Episode 9 is that we do know that this film was very important to Disney and Lucasfilm because not only does it really spell the future of the Star Wars franchise and where things will stand once this movie is finally out of theaters and onto the Blu-ray and or the 4K version, and it's all said and done and put in the past where they can finally fully embrace the future of the franchise and where things will go. Now, the thing about Episode 9, in case you guys have not been informed, is that there were a lot of reshoots and rewrites that took place in this movie. It was a big deal because a lot of fans were very worried about how things were going to be done, how Disney and Lucasfilm were going to put together, the entire movie piece by piece. And with that being said, 30% of the entire movie was reshot. So a lot of scenes were taken out of the film. In fact, it's one of the main reasons as to why when you watch the movie, it does feel quite convoluted at times, and as if some pieces are missing to the puzzle there in specific sequences, or why there's a lot of plot holes in the movie is because a lot of scenes were deleted from Episode 9. One thing that a lot of fans are going crazy over is how in the world did Palpatine survive in The Rise of Skywalker? Now, what's rather intriguing has all to do with one of the deleted scenes, where it's explained that during production of the film, Disney and Lucasfilm made many changes to the film's second and third acts of the movie to create a far different tone for the film and to also shorten the running time of the movie. These changes led to a series of deleted scenes, including over 60% of George's scenes that he worked on being deleted from the film. It's explained that one of the most important scenes that were deleted from the film involved the full explanation of Palpatine's survival in the act of the movie of the first act. One of the scenes directed by George Lucas was said to involve a full explanation by Palpatine to Kylo Ren about how he survived the second Death Star. In the original cut of the film, it's noted that the scene went as follows, where Kylo Ren takes a lift down to find Palpatine on a bed, being aided by 4 Sith loyalists and connected to tubes to the side of his body. Originally, in this cut, Palpatine was not hooked up to the machine in his first scene, but rather lying on a medical bed or a table, with all sorts of electronics running on the sides with the Sith loyalists helping him. There was even a line of dialogue done and provided by Ian McDiarmid that is a callback to Episode 3 that was also directed by George Lucas, where he says to the Sith loyalists, "Leave us," as he talks with Kylo Ren in private. The original scene was going to explain how Sidious was able to survive the second Death Star, where he tells Kylo Ren about using an ability that both saved his life and killed him in the process. The initial cut of the film included a segment where Sidious states that he created an escape route on the second Death Star by developing a wormhole by using an ancient dark side power that actually allowed him to escape the second Death Star. However, the sheer will of using this power killed him as well. Palpatine's spirit was detached from his body on Exegol, where the Sith loyalists aided his body, where his spirit was able to travel back into his own body. It's explained that the original cut of the film, the Snoke clones, were done by J.J. Abrams and George Lucas, and that Lucas had the idea of explaining that the Snoke clones were failed Palpatine clones that came out deformed. Hence why Snoke has a similar injury on his forehead like Palpatine in Revenge of the Sith. This idea was scrapped, and that J.J. Abrams wanted to keep things simple with the Snoke clones, and that Palpatine simply made Snoke and kept others as backups. However, part of George's vision remains in the final cut, which is why there are a number of Snoke clones seen in the background. Palpatine's survival by George Lucas of the wormhole being created by Sidious was going to be explained. However, J.J. Abrams felt it was a better idea to keep his death a mystery and to not explain how he survived at all, to make things less direct and to keep the mystery of Sidious and her survival. Now, it's unclear if this scene that was deleted that will actually end up on the Blu-ray or will be further explained in novelization, making it canon. However, part of this explanation will in fact be explained in the upcoming novel, due for release in March of next year. It said that this was a big reason as to why the Rise of Skywalker art book was also delayed until March of 2020. So let's go over a couple of parts about this. Now, the thing about The Rise of Skywalker is that this is by far the biggest flaw in the movie, is that, well, we never really got that full explanation of how Sidious survived the second Death Star explosion. It's one of the biggest mysteries of all, right? And when you think about The Rise of Skywalker, you think that at the very minimum, Disney would have given us a very much direct answer as to how Palpatine survived the explosion of the second Death Star. Now, that to me I think was a big flaw, and I think that's something that should really be included on the Blu-ray edition of the movie. This particular deleted scene that was developed by George Lucas and J.J. Abrams, and specifically written by George, had a lot of nice callbacks to Episode 3, such as Ian McDiarmid saying, "Leave us," to the Sith loyalists as they leave, you know, leaving Kylo Ren and Palpatine in private. That would have been a very interesting segment. Now, obviously, this scene differs from the one that we got in the beginning of the movie, where Palpatine is telling Kylo Ren of how, you know, he can be the new Emperor as long as he does what he asks, is to kill the girl and the Jedi, and to fulfill what his grandfather Darth Vader could not. Now, the thing about this particular scene is the wormhole. I know a lot of people have been expressing, you know, their honest, you know, thoughts about that. We talked about this before in the past about the wormhole explanation, and a lot of fans, you know, thought that it was a very strange and mediocre explanation of Palpatine's survival, and you do see this actually in Star Wars Rebels, where Palpatine is able to use this in the worlds between worlds. A similar energy is actually seen in the very ending of Return of the Jedi, and they never explained exactly what that explosion really was in the novel or other forms of canon material, and that they wanted to explain that that blue energy spewing up from the chamber of the second Death Star, that reactor, was actually Palpatine creating a portal, and it closes. And once it closes is exactly why it spirals back down. So that is the explanation by George Lucas of that particular deleted scene when they were doing all the reshoots and the rewrites. Honestly, guys, I will be honest, I actually like that explanation of how he was able to use a wormhole. Some of you guys may hate that idea. That's perfectly fine, but to me, it by far makes the most sense. Think about it this way. How in the world would Palpatine's body even travel to Exegol? You know, I can't imagine him just falling down to the reactor and walking around and finding a ship. It's just cheesy. It just doesn't make sense. I also could not imagine him just laying on the bottom of the reactor and the Death Star exploding, and he's just floating in space. That too sounds ridiculous. So the portal really does make a lot of sense, because not only does it canonize exactly what that blue energy really is, because it never really was explained before, but it also explains as to exactly how he got over to the world of Exegol, and it also matches up with the other, you know, sequences that we talked about of the past explanations by Palpatine, that using this ability caused him to become blind, and it caused him to become slightly deformed in the process, hence why he's got missing fingers, and it basically killed him by using such a power. This was going to be a part of the original cut of Episode 9, of him explaining exactly how he died and how he was able to escape the second Death Star. Hence why in the final cut of the movie, he does say, "I have died before." And that is actually true. He actually did die, but he's back to life, per se, on the world of Exegol because of his spirit keeping him alive. And this is also referenced in the final cut of the movie where he's talking to Rey, you know, where he says, you know, "Kill me, that is what I want. Kill me, and my spirit will pass into you. You will be Empress, we will be one." That's what he wanted. So you can see where they were going and how Abrams wanted to keep things a mystery. It's very unfortunate that they didn't want to be more direct with Palpatine's survival. It could have been, you know, something very special. I get it. It may have come off as cartoonish if he explained it in great depth. I get that. Obviously, they want to save this for a deleted scene or in the official novelization in the form of a book, which we will be covering in March of next year. Obviously, 2020 is just days away. It's going to be an interesting ride to see, you know, exactly how Disney and Lucasfilm are going to create the canon material that will further explain everything that we need to know about the Rise of Skywalker further down the road. So with that being said, guys, drop a comment below. Let me know what you think about all of this in the comments. And if you guys did enjoy the content for today, do make sure to drop a thumbs up on this video to support the channel. I thank you all so very much for the kind support, and I'll catch you guys next time.
night.